ladies, even people that were younger than me, were in that same room. So I was like, how did you guys get here? What is going on? You know, we started talking. A lot of Benin girls, they were just saying, welcome with this one, Jadid. Welcome with this one. You know, Jadid means new person. You know, they were just saying a lot of things. And then at the end of the day, I got bonded to a particular lady that really shared her experience. Happened to be that she has not been able to pay her money. So when I asked her, she said 300,000. So we started getting information from the people within that if you're unable to pay your money, you stay there. So towards the evening of that same day, like around 5 p.m., the man came to assemble all the new passengers. All the new passengers come outside, we came out. He took us to a particular hall, asked all of us to sit on the floor. We sat down. He said, we are welcome. We answered. Me, I was even feeling comfortable, believing that this person is from my place. He's a Nigerian, so he should be nice, you know. So when he was about to tell us what Libya was, the first thing was a gunshot. In fact, for like few seconds, I couldn't recover from the shock. I had to hide behind our bros, like the whole of us just held him. The man said, everybody, oh yeah, this way, this way. Like he had to like scatter us so that we don't get to communicate with each other. He had big boys. In fact, those big boys, if they handle one person, I'm sure the person will not survive it. So I was shaking. And then the man said, he just wants to let us know that we are in Libya now. And that now that you are here, he's giving us just a few hours to give him his money. He paid for us, he bought us. He was saying it like, you know, when someone is actually practically trying to pass a message across to you with everything he's got inside, the kind of anger, like I didn't offend this man before. But the way he was saying it was like, I'm just telling you that you have to pay this money within the space of so and so hours. If you don't pay it for the girls, you walk and give me my money. For the boys, you die here. So the thing sounded somehow. We just had to like beg him, just allow us to discuss. We are from the same family. He said, okay. After a while, then my brother said, please give us your phone. You are begging in tears. If you're even asking for the phone, it's not up to like, they are not giving you to call. They are giving you to just say, I'm in Libya, please call me back. You can't use their airtime to inform whoever you are informing. Sorry. So at the end of the day, we were able to reach out to the people that invited us to France. Those ones said they would send someone to come and pick us in a few hours. We should be patient. We were there, we were waiting. After a while, I came to call down my bros. Your people, they disturb me with call. Your people, they disturb. If they disturb me again with call, now I go beat you, you know. We're hearing it from our own side, and I was like, is that not bros this person is talking to like this? You know, the fear was more. We pleaded, okay, can we talk to bros? So you have to plead for to see a guy in that room. In fact, you're not even allowed to see a guy. They don't give you room to see any guy. So we're able to like talk to bros. How far? Did they call? He now asked for phone again to reach out to them. So he was able to get to them again, and then they sent someone across. So I think the person who was supposed to bring the money was now pricing lower than the 300. I think the person was now saying 250. That was where the anger came from. For the four of us, and then took us from that place to his house. From his house, we moved. It's still within the yes, still in Libya. So from that place to the sea coast, and the sea coast was not very easy for me as well. That's from his house to the sea coast was also very traumatizing. And then at some point, I even had an experience where I was sleeping in a room. In that particular room was mixed with both guys and ladies. So there was this Sudanese that they brought into the room to join us, because initially it was with Ghanaians. So the Sudanese took a part of the room, we took a part of the room. And so in the night I was sleeping, I covered myself because I have this habit of using wrapper to cover myself from foot to head. And then there was this guy that I don't know, among the Sudanese, he crawled to where I was, tapped me. I woke up, I was like, what? The guy put his hand in his pocket, brought out 5 dinar. 5 dinar in their money is 500 naira, Nigerian naira, and was begging me like, I could not wrap my head around it. So I just screamed, and then the Ghana guy woke up first and was like, what is happening? You know, they started arguing amongst themselves, and at the end of the day, those Sudanese, they apologized on behalf of their brother, that they were sorry about what happened. Probably he just thought something different in his mind before bringing it, that they are sorry. So the whole thing was migrants abusing migrants, security agencies abusing migrants. The experience was just too hard for me. I had a case where someone was trying to communicate something to me, that I should sit down in the vehicle, those long trucks. I didn't understand him. I don't know that GAMS means sit down. I'm just new in the environment. But this man had an idea in his head that any language he speaks or whatever he says, I should understand. So the next thing was, I don't know what he used in hitting me on my head. I was bleeding, and then somebody was saying, sit down, sit down. That's what he's saying, sit down. So I sat down, and then I noticed I was bleeding, and the lady was like, sorry, if I knew you were the one he was talking to, I would have told you to sit down. If you had sat down, the guy will not hit you. And then in most cases, for them to say sit down, they will have to shoot, you know, for you to sit down. At least the communication differences should have been understood by them, but the case was different. For them, when they communicate, you don't understand, they become violent. So it was really hard till we got to the sea coast, spent some time around the sea coast trying to cross, had people die. Someone died while giving birth. So had cases of people dying. A particular lady died trying to give birth because there were no professionals around, and then people claimed that in their countries they were professionals, they could help her give birth, they could help her deliver, you know. It was a sad experience. At the end of the day, she died, the baby died, and I just told myself, this one is just a wasted time, like wasted efforts. You're trying to get out of trouble, you get into more trouble. And even family doesn't know where you are because you can't even call them. I don't have access to any communication device. I can't reach anyone except maybe I'll have to pay someone to borrow his phone or have to, you know, the situation was even very difficult because a lot of people will not even give you their phones to make call. They wouldn't even want you to buy the airtime to make the call. So it was a very difficult one until finally the security agencies came. They arrested every one of us around that sea coast. They arrested everyone. In fact, people tried to escape. Some tried to jump into the water. You know, people tried to run, but wherever you are, they will find you and they will bring you back to the spot. And then they took us to a detention center, Garian. After a few days, they also took us from there to Tripoli, Terigmata Detention Center. So it was in Terigmata that the International Organization for Migration came visiting, and then some UN agencies, once they come around, they check on us. Whenever they are coming, these Libyan...
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Right, my name is Terietta Precious. I am an event planner, a cake specialist. I'm also a natural juice specialist as well. I deal with fruits and I try to make people live healthy lives. And business is just pretty starting up, like coming back, resuscitating after a very long break of like 5 years. And that happened because I got trafficked, and the connection came through my friend. So how it all started, so after school, I started baking even before I left secondary school. And so when admission was taking so long, and I was really eager to go back to school and all, so I started doing events, started serving at parties, following vendors to events, and I started liking the job because I'm kind of like talented in the arts. So everything event looked like fun and work for me. So I decided to build a career in that, irrespective of going back to school. And then I started training up. I naturally just have recipes in my head for cakes, and maybe when I wake up, I'll go right out to what I saw either in my dream or what I thought about, and when I try it out, it always comes out nice. So my mom encouraged me to build up that career too, and that it was going to be a fruitful one. So at that point, there's this friend of mine that we kind of like, she's a bit older than I am, but we kind of like grew up together. She was always there for me because I had a child immediately after school. She was always there for me, always helping me out. So she said, since school wasn't working, then we should just venture into business. And looking at it that I was the first of 5 kids and I already had a child, school might be a little bit tight at that moment because my parents were really well to do, my mom actually, and because my parents are separated. So we used to make ice blocks and ice cubes together. We make ice blocks, we make ice. She was the one working there. So, but after her normal daily job, we now go in the evenings. So we had to take permission from her boss first. So we go in the evenings, we make ice blocks and ice cubes. We take to bars, restaurants, clubs, and most weekends when we get jobs as well, we get to supply ice blocks for events. So it started making me meet people. I started coming out more often. And people say they're liking my kind of person, like you're very intelligent. So sometimes my friend will just say, come, let's go to this place. She might not say anything, but we are certain that we're not living there without a new job to do almost every weekend. So it made me see that becoming very outgoing, and I did meet lots of people. So I knew that I was only going to do that for a short while. And then on one of the occasions, we had a very long discussion, and she was like, she's just going to be here for the meantime. She was really building that up for me to like find a basis for me to start my event management career. And I took it that she was doing me a really good favor. So not too long from then, she introduced me to a friend who brought a job, and they wanted me to plan a particular event. It was going to be an opening, which I did, and it was fine. It came out well. It was quite big, so for me it was like a major big job for me, and I was happy at the pace at which I was, pulling up the shirts, and they were really looking perfect. So one of the guys who attended the event a friend to the convener of the event, to the owner of the event, was like, "Whoa, I like your industrious. I like your person. You're smart. You're outspoken, and you know how to do almost everything and do it well. Like, how do you do it?" And I was like, "Well, it's just me. That's just the way I am." And he got really interested, and we exchanged contacts, started talking, and sometimes he just calls me, "Hey babe, what's up? What's your plan for the weekend? Any event?" And I'll be like, "Yes." And he's like, "Okay, drop location." He'll just come around, just come and check up, like to see what's up, and always commenting, always checking up on me. So for me, I felt it was like a good thing to just have someone who you've not known from Adam, become close, check up on you, and they're after your progress. And after like about 6 to 8 months of that constant checkup, he then just dropped the suggestion one day, like, he doesn't know how I'm going to see this, but there's a traveling opportunity, and he feels this should be the intern for me, since I already have plans to further education. Already I had started NCE. I was in my 200 level. I started NCE, but it was a bit tight. So most times when it's like that, he's always like one of the people I call, like, "What's up? I'm having challenges with fees," or my friend and a couple of other friends will be like, "Every time you have to call me either for fees or for feeding or one thing or the other. I feel this is an opportunity for you. If you can take it up, you should go to Malaysia. You're going to be working in the hair factory." Because at that point, apart from making cakes and planning events, I just got talented with playing around weave-ons, and then I just started making wigs even without even knowing that wig was going to become something that's going to be in vogue. So when they saw it and they're like, "This is really beautiful, like, how did you come about this?" I don't know, I just see things and I do them. So he said that this is really good. So if you're going to a company where you're going to be working with attachment, weave-ons, and then you could get another job where you can work in a restaurant, maybe as a pastry chef or as an assistant baker, where you can shuffle in between both duties, make cool cash, and say in about 6 months you must have saved up enough. And then I was like, I don't have money. I know traveling out now, most especially going to Malaysia now, should cost so much. And it was like, no, that even if I don't have cash, I shouldn't worry about it. I'm like, how are you going to do that? And he was like, I should just leave all of that for him, that all he needs from me is my consent that I'll be willing to go. I said, but not without you telling me how you're going to go about it. And then he did explain that there are agents who are into traveling, and they help people travel either to go to school or to work. But then if you do not have money, there are people who are like investors, and what they do is to invest their money on you to travel. And then when you get to your post country, you start working, maybe like your first 3, 4, 5 months working, your salary will be used to pay them back whatever they have spent on you, but though it will be maybe either multiplied or there'll be an addition. And then he was like, I think if you are that hardworking, this shouldn't be a problem for you. So I sat down and thought about it, like, okay, so how much are we looking at here? And then he did a plus or minus $3,500 then, and then if I was going to pay back, I was going to be paying back like $700, $7,000. And I was like, okay, how much are we talking about in Naira? He did the conversion, and then he did made me understand that I shouldn't even look at that money, that I'm going to be getting dinars, and that dinars is way higher than Naira. So, and he was like, don't worry, this is like the best opportunity for you. I know you're strong, I know you're hardworking, and you're very fun to be with. People love to be around you, so definitely you're going to make good friends who would even give you stipends, and you probably might not just have to pay back with all your hard-earned money. So the idea was to go work and come back to set up better or to finish up school so I can get a job. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And then he said he was going to, if I was ready, then he will now tell me the remaining processes. But then I have to look for like 4 extra people to make us 5. I was like, okay. And so these my other friends, they also know this my particular friend, Mary, that introduced me to the agent. So somehow, there's no how now, friends, girls would definitely meet. And I really don't remember how my other friends got to know, but they also got to know about the traveling because he also became friends with them. But because anybody can meet anybody anywhere, I didn't really try to know exactly how they also met this same person. But then the other thing I remember was that we were all talking about this whole traveling thing, and my other friends were like, they were already 2 sisters and 2 of their friends, so we're 5 of us. And then we started talking about it. So they were like, we're going to get at least 50K first. The 50K was supposed to be for like our passport and some other little things that we would need right here before moving, but the traveling expenses was going to be covered by the investor, the invisible investor. So I for like a month we were on it, trying to get cash, running around, and several times they did say we're going to meet one person tomorrow. They could just call up today and say, okay, we're meeting the main travel agents tomorrow, we're meeting this tomorrow, and then we go. So they asked us to bring passports, pictures, so we should come for medical tests and all that. So on the day we went to Ikorodu to meet this other set of guys. That was the day we met a magician. So he is also part of the crew. Then the magician happens to be the transporter. So he did mention that when it comes to things like this, that he normally advises young ladies not to tell anyone, and that the reason why he would tell them not to tell anyone is because they will definitely discourage you the moment you tell them someone is paying for your traveling. That families don't believe that somebody anywhere can just decide to pay for you to travel, go work and come back. So at some point he actually did some magic. So he said he was going to show us what he does for a living in Malaysia, and that he had just come back, but he has decided to rest. He wants to stay back in Nigeria to take care of his family, and that this is what he does for a living in Malaysia and some other countries where he goes to. And then he brought out stuff, sand, salt, handkerchief. Then he did turn the sand into, he did turn salt into sand, and then turned the salt again into a bird. So seeing that, we, it just blew us out kind of. And he also said that if we wanted to really go and we were certain that we were not going to tell anyone, we needed to like swear an oath and all of that. So they were going to make some concussion with new notes. So all of this is just to be secure that we're not going to be telling anybody. And at that point I was really not very down with everything, but one thing just kept sticking in my mind, which is, as far as I'm going to make myself better, as far as I'm not going to be leaning or calling or having to trouble family and all of that. And it was an opportunity for me to at least like do something tangible for myself. So I didn't really see anything, though I had doubts. I had very big doubts. So after that, they said they were going to let us know when we'll be leaving and how we will be leaving. We don't need to take anything, maybe just a bag or just maybe like a pair or 2 pairs of clothes, that when we get somewhere, we'll be going for shopping, we'll get clothes, and we'll get every necessary thing that we needed. So when he started mentioning that you don't have to tell anyone, so for me, I found it very difficult that, okay, I'll be leaving my child for my mom and I won't be able to describe to my mom where exactly I'm going to or what I'm going there to do. And why would someone say, it's supposed to be a good news. So why would someone else say, don't tell your family, because they probably will not like the sound of it or they will discourage you? For me, I feel that should be a good news and you should share. So, but he made us to believe that when you do that, they will discourage you and you might end up missing an opportunity of a lifetime. And another thing that got me thinking was the fact that he did mention that a lot of girls do go and they come back, they get to do big things for themselves. He also mentioned that apart from working in salons, restaurants, that some people go there to hustle. So when I heard the word hustle, I actually did ask, like, what's the meaning of hustle? And it was like, regular hustle though. I'm like, no, the way that word sounds to me, the way you're saying it, looks like there's a different meaning to hustle. And then he now expatiated and said, some girls do go there just to go and work in brothels and come back. I'm like, okay. So hearing that started making me think, like, okay, does it mean that there is something he's not saying? So then I now asked clearly, what exactly are you taking me to this country to go and do? He now asked, what did you tell your friend you want to do? I said, no, I didn't tell him. He suggested that since I am good in these areas, so I can work in a restaurant and then also work in a hair factory. And he was like, so that is what you are going to do? So I said, okay, and waited for the day they were going to call. So on the day he called, that's the initial guy that told me about the traveling opportunity. He called and said, okay, so get ready by next week. We are moving by next week Sunday. It was supposed to be a Sunday. I said, okay, no problem. And then on getting to Ikorodu, I found out that my other friends weren't there. So I asked, what's up, what happened with the other friends? And it was like, they couldn't come up with even money for their passports, which was 50K. I was like, oh, because I saw one of them that morning and I was like asking her, babe, how far? She was like, that she's not sure that she's going. That's the one that has a sister. And that again, that their mom told them that it's not a good journey, that they shouldn't go. And that if she would advise me that I shouldn't go, for their mom to say it's not a good journey, I was like, why at the dying minute? So to me at that point, I just thought that, okay, maybe this is why these guys were always saying don't tell anybody. So I just went because I'd already packed my bag. So I went to Ikorodu, and then on getting to Ikorodu, we passed the night in Ikorodu. They said we were waiting for 2 other people to join us, and the next day he took us to Agbara. On getting to Agbara, it's a lady's house, and I met the owner of the house and about 3 other ladies. So he said, so this is the person that is your real travel agent. She's the one that is paying for you. She's the one that is helping you to travel to the person who sent money to her. And I said, okay. So what I told my mom when I was going to leave, I told her that I was traveling and that it was going to take me maybe like 6 or 8 months to come back. And she was like, what kind of a travel is that, and why are you staying so long? So I told her that it's a friend that is helping me out, and I really do not have to do so much just to pay for my passport. So she was even the one that even gave me like 35K out of the 50K that I gave those guys. And when I explained to her that it's a friend, and she already knows the guy, so the guy as in became very close. During one of our school parties, my mom's school party, he actually came around. He comes, like everybody now knew him. So when I mentioned his name and my mom, okay, she didn't see a reason to question, because this is someone that everybody has come to know very well. So she was like, okay. So that day I told her was the day she gave me the money, and she was like, okay, if you say that is what you want to do. But then she now asked what I was going to do about my school. So I said, already I had missed the exam for that semester, and I already had missing exams from the previous semester. So when I come back, I'll sort it out. So she was like, okay, if that is what you want. But then she wasn't really like okay with it. She kept asking questions upon questions and questions upon questions. I'm like, at least you know the person that is actually working on this for me. So if there is anything, you can always ask him. So that was the last conversation I had with my mom. And at that time, there was a very big issue in the house. Oh, I was not in good terms with my stepdad and my mom. We had issues. So for me, it was just, I'd had it to the truth and I wanted to just leave the house. So, and that was it. And I left. So my mom asked, so how are we going to be feeding this child? How are we going to be doing this? How are we going to be that? I told her not to worry, that at each point, I would always know what to do. So she didn't really bother me so much about the child because she was still little. She was just 5. At least she would be able to still feed her and do some other things. So that was how I left my daughter with my mom and left. So on getting to that house, seeing 3 other ladies and then the lady in question that owns the house, she was like, okay, so first she gave me rules that I was not comfortable with, and no talking to anybody, you're on your own here, it's just you and your destiny, like it's just you and your destiny here, no friendship, the only business you're here for is for you to be taken to the country where you're going to. She too, she just came back, she's going to be joining us like in a month's time and all. So she said we're moving in 3 days. So in 3 days nothing was happening, and then I was forced to ask questions like, I've been here for 3 days, nobody's going anywhere, what's happening? So she was like, we're waiting for 2 more people. I'm like, that was the same thing these guys said the last time, they're waiting for 2 more people, you're also saying the same thing. So she almost snapped out like, I'm questioning her too much, I'm pestering and this and that, and that I should just take her word when she says we're waiting for 2 more people, or if I was the one that was going to pay the money. So I kept quiet. So that day was a day to my birthday that year, March 2nd. So I felt, okay, since I'm still around, let me just go home. So I went home, saw my mom, saw everyone, just got stuff. So my birthday, that was on my birthday, I went home, and felt like my mom was like, what happened, you've not gone? And like, we're waiting for 2 more people. And then my mom now aired out like, are you sure this thing is really genuine, and are you sure that you're not doing the wrong thing? She kept asking questions. So she asked me to call the guy that night so that she can confirm from him. So but I called that night, his number wasn't going through. I told her that I didn't want to stay too long so that I can get back home, get back there on time. And that was how I left. So 2 days after, we were ready, and the lady asked her brother to take us to the park. So already, while the magician guy was talking to us a few days earlier, he had mentioned that we were going to go by road to an extent, and that the reason we're going by road to an extent is to avoid wahala from immigration and all of that. And to me, I was just wondering, but why are you trying to avoid these people if this is genuine? But I couldn't really ask too much questions. So he said we're going to go by road to a particular extent. So when the guy said we're going to the park, it took us to a park at Yanopaja, and then we entered Kano. So I now asked, why are we going to Kano? Then he said, that's the first place we are going to. That's where I will meet the people that will now take us to where we're going to. So at this point, we're 4 ladies and the guy. So he stayed with us at the park till the bus was full, and we moved. So right there at the park, there were 2 ladies in the same bus behind us, and I noticed they were murmuring to each other. I tried eavesdropping. At that point, my Yoruba wasn't really fluent, but I can understand little by little. So I tried eavesdropping to maybe just hear something, because I became very worried. Like, am I sure I really want to continue? I can't just go back home from here and just run away. So I started looking at a means at which I can maybe even just abscond from this guy's hand, but you know, he was seated right opposite us. So even if I come down from the bus now, he's definitely going to see me. So at a point, I acted like I wanted to go buy something. And then I noticed that he was walking behind me. And I was like, okay, so this guy is watching me. I can't run away. So at a point, I just waved the thought of running away and felt like, as far as I'm going for a good cause, let me just go and do what I got to do and come back home. So we left. Getting to Kano, I was on my phone at that point, and the lady did mention to me that when I get to Kano, she gave me a particular number. When I get to Kano, or if we are being stopped on the way, or maybe we're being arrested or hijacked on the way by any of the security officials, that we should call the particular number. So at the point where I think it was NDLEA that stopped us, and they were like, where are we going to? And to me, I just said, they said when they asked us, we should tell them we're going to Kano. And if they ask us, who are we going to meet in Kano, we should mention a particular name, which was what we did. And they did let us go. So getting there, I called the number, the man did come and asked us to stay somewhere, and picked us, took us somewhere else. And I was like, okay, so what next? And then he said, he now mentioned the lady's name. She wasn't that sent us to him, right? I said yes. So he told us, yeah, enter the car. And he drove off. So we drove for like 3 hours. Getting to where we were, to me it was like, why are we here? This place is looking deserted and all. So I started looking out. I remember looking out and I saw Sabongeri while we were driving. I saw Sabongeri. And I remember that at some point I heard about Sabongeri before, and I remember it being like an outskirt of Kano or so, thereabouts. So I was like, okay, but why are we going this far? I couldn't really ask the man questions because he wasn't even going to answer. And from there, they hipped us. The place he took us to, we met some other women and men there. And they wouldn't even allow you to see anything. They were just pushing everybody in. People must not see us and all that. So they, like a hut, like it was a small hut and there were people around. So they were trying to hide us. So at that point, I started becoming very scared because why are you hiding us? Why are we having to rush into somewhere? You don't want people to know we are here. If they know we are here, they're going to come and take us away or something.
I love to dance. My dream is to be impactful to humanity, and dance is connecting me to that dream. So I don't see dancing as just movement of the body. I see dancing as an amazingly powerful tool. Dance is the oldest form of communication. Before we are able to speak, we move first. Dance can speak to us, dance can nurture us, dance can empower us, dance can make us fit and healthy, dance can make us happy, dance can reduce stress level, depression rates, dance can stop you from even committing suicide because it's an art form of expression. And when you get to express, you are able to live. When I look at dance, it's just a cloak I can wear to connect to humanity, to be a better person. Like some people ask me, so if you know the dance, what you want to do? I go do dance again. And I come from a family that only celebrates children because mommy is lawyer. We are like stifled in that pressure of what our family dictates that success is. And for me, you don't do that to a cafe. Don't say I can't be great as a shoemaker. I will prove to you that shoemaker, and in fact, I'm going to make shoe for Queen of England. I read book well. I love book well. And I dey pass. So it's not a second class option for me. So being great at it doesn't mean I'm the best at it, but I'll do the best with what I have. with what I know. So there has been a lot of trial and error, but there was more of trials that worked than errors that didn't. And most of my errors were things that I used to kind of like educate myself for what not to do next. I dance and people are happy because I dance with you and you are happy. So if you don't understand that it's a product, it's different. If you don't understand that it can be a service, it's different. It's up to me to make you understand that this thing you need it to. Money should never be your motivation because it hinders aspiration. It does. I see money as something that I can control. I want you, I get you. Who you are can make you make you be anybody that you want to be. Every individual determines their own ceiling. Now, I hate it when some people use me as their ceiling. I want to be better than Taffy. That's why you are not getting to where Taffy is. If I can dance better than her, I am better than her. Our African system doesn't like to learn from one another. We feel learning from each other belittles us. If I go somewhere now to go and learn from a younger dancer, the way he will carry it for head, the way he will talk about me in a very dishonorable manner, is what to make somebody that knows so much not want to go and learn from a younger person. I always want to impact. I don't like to see the bad in people. I always want to see the good in you. And the good in you, for me, translates as what God put in you. That is not you.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation. It's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
APC and LP and others battle for the soul of the state. Delta PDP governorship candidate Oborevwori escapes gunmen attack. This is Plus Politics. My name is Nyam Gul Agaju.